Okay, we welcome back to the part two of this training session. Um, Before we left for the initial session, we talked about, one of the submodules in SAP FI, which was the accounts receivable. Okay, accounts receivable, and we showed what an invoice looks like and how credit management is efficiently managed in the SAP accounts receivables submodule. We'll continue from the SAP we'll continue with the SAP accounts, SAP submodule, SAP FI submodule, which is accounts payable, which is accounts payable. All right, so what's accounts payable? Accounts payable basically manages the company's obligations to its vendors and suppliers and related vendor transactions. It handles invoice verification, which is more of a three-way matching methodology where it matches the PO value to the goods receipts to the invoice value. That's the invoice being paid to the vendor. Okay. It also processes the invoice payments and also credit memos. It's also efficient management and reporting of vendor accounts. On the other hand, we looked at efficient for the receivables, efficient management and reporting of the customer's account. In this particular case, is the efficient management and reporting of the vendor accounts. Okay, so what we're looking at here is one of the screens in SAP, and this is more of an invoice to a vendor. Basically, the vendor has rendered a service, and or he has delivered a product to a company, and then this is an invoice showing payments, okay, to that particular vendor. On this particular screen, what we can see the invoice date here. We can see the posting date here, and whatever the reference is, we see, in the text field. You have to, for you to be able to process, this particular invoice, you need to put in you need to provide the purchase order number and also the vendor. Then you need to verify and adjust item details, which might be the quantities, which might be the amounts, which might be the tax codes. Then you have to check tax and payment terms as well. Then simulate the document to review accounting entries. Then of course, post payments, post the invoice. So once, you need to process a vendor invoice on the SAP system, this is the screen you will see. This one, we have already processed this particular payment. What we're just seeing here is just displaying, that particular payment. We can see, on the far right, we can see the vendor there. Okay, we can see the reference P2P invoice. We can see the posting dates and the invoice dates as the case may be. So this is, the accounts payable model. This is how invoices are processed in the accounts payable model. So we will just move on to the asset accounting. The asset accounting. Asset accounting manages a company's fixed assets, from acquisition and valuation to depreciation and retirement. Examples of assets in a company, we have buildings, it could be furniture, it could be vehicles, it could be computer hardware or software. These basically are the kind of fixed assets we have in a company. All assets are grouped into what we call the asset classes. And an asset class basically is a classification that groups assets with similar characteristics. Asset classes, they determine, the default values and depreciation rules, for assets in any company. Okay, just grouping of different assets, together that have a similar characteristics. That's what an asset is. Then we have the records. The records could be the acquisition, could be depreciation, could be sales, it could be, retirement, as the case may be. So these are the records for your assets. What we see on our screen now is, how SAP maintains assets. In this particular case, it's for a Toyota Hilux, which is 2023 Toyota Hilux HL. Okay, and we see that the class of that particular asset, recall what I said about the asset class, is a classification of that groups, assets with similar characteristics. We see the company code, we see the description of, the asset, which is 2023 Highlander. We see the account determination as well, which is AUC Capital Investment. Whenever you're creating an asset, there are certain things that you have to bring in. You have to provide, the general data, which could be the description, asset number, then you have to specify also the time-dependent data, okay? When we talk about the time-dependent data now, things like cost center comes in, things like the location come in. Sorry, you cannot see all these on this screen at the moment because this is just a screenshot of an asset, that is just being displayed. You have to also set depreciation parameters. Now in just this, if you see there's a tab called depreciation area, you set depreciation parameters there, you set the useful life there as well. There are several other things now, other details you have to put on this asset master. If you want to learn further about, the AA model, submodel, you can always contact us, and we'll do well to put you through with one of our consultants. Okay, the next we'll be looking at is the bank accounting, which is also one of the submodels in the SAP FI. Okay, this component deals with all transactions involving the company's bank accounts. It includes bank statement processing, it includes cash management, it includes reconciliation of bank accounts, it includes updating company's financial records. Okay, what we're seeing on this screen at the moment is just master data, just creation of a bank. Okay, creation of a bank in SAP. We see the bank number, we see the bank key, we see, the bank name, the streets, and all. And suffice it to say, I know I didn't say this earlier, in SAP, at least the ECC, ERP Central Components, we use what we call the T code, okay, to create some of these data or master data, as the case may be, or transactions. Okay, for this particular creation is FI01, that is the creation, but in this case we are just displaying, which is FI03. Okay, so that's basically what the SAP FI model is about. So we talked about four main things in the SAP FI model, okay, which ranges from asset accounting to the bank accounting to accounts payable and accounts receivable. So these are the main four components of SAP FI. We are going to go straight into SAP CO. As I said earlier, if we want to know more of SAP FI, you can always contact us, and we will assign a consultant to you who will train you more on the accounting SAP FI model. All right, so the next we're going to be looking at here is SAP CO, which is the SAP controlling. What's SAP CO about? SAP CO is an SAP model with comprehensive tools for managing and controlling costs and operational performance. It facilitates internal reporting and management decision-making by enabling the tracking, analysis, optimization of costs and revenues. Basically, what this SAP CO is about is it shows where money is being spent, okay? Where money is being spent. And of course, you can match it with, your revenue as well, okay? Where money is being spent and where money is coming from, okay? Just for proper oversight and proper analysis, okay? So in the SAP FI CO model, there are certain things now that there are certain components now that we'll be looking at. First, it will be the cost center accounting. Cost centers in organization, they are organizational units within a company where costs are incurred. They can represent the departments, teams, or functions. So wherever, costs are incurred, whether it's in terms of administration, whether it's in terms of production process or production planning, as the case may be, wherever cost is incurred, it's called a cost center. Okay, they could be departments, they could be teams, or they could be several functions. Okay. In the cost center accounting as well, we have what we call the cost allocation. Costs collected in cost centers are allocated to other objects, of course. Okay, there could be other cost centers, there could be internal orders. We'll also deal with, what an internal order is as we go on. Okay, using various methods like assessments, distributions, and activities. Okay, what we're looking at here is cost center. Creation of a cost center. As I said earlier, cost centers are organizational units within a company where costs are incurred, and they can be managed, they can be monitored, and they can be analyzed. You can monitor, whatever cost is being incurred by these particular cost centers. For instance, what we see here is accounts operations, okay, for a particular unit called the NGC, okay? And what we are going to be imputing here is what's the validity period of that particular cost center, okay? What's the then you have to provide the basic data, for that particular cost center. But one thing I want to show us here is the cost center category. We can see all the way down, it is administration. So you have to specify, the type of cost center, okay? Is it, for instance, the production team? Okay, is it administration? You have to specify, this basically categorizes, the kind of cost. It's very critical and key when it comes to analysis. Okay, so under this particular cost center as well, if you see there is a responsible person as well, you have to specify who that responsible person is. It could be the head of the department, it could be the supervisor, it could be anyone. But as long as, the person oversees that particular department, then you have to put, the person responsible. And also, of course, what we see there is the department. You can also specify the department. Basically, what this is for is just so that you can manage, where costs are incurred. Okay, so that you can monitor and analyze, costs, spendings within, the organization. Okay, So, having said that, we'll just move to internal orders. As I said earlier, um, we'll be talking about, internal orders for a bit. They are just temporary cost collectors. That's what they are. They are used to track costs and monitor budgets for specific, please note that specific tasks, projects, or activities. They are just temporary cost collectors, basically. Okay. It could be in marketing. Okay. It could be campaigns. It could be maintenance work. Basically, what this is just to capture, uh, sorry, excuse me, to capture, where cost is being incurred temporarily. Okay. Um, we have the settlement part. We have costs collected on internal orders are settled to other cost objects such as cost centers, profit centers, or fixed assets. So whatever, cost that has been incurred, of course, there is the settlement part where the internal orders caters for, that. Okay. Um, on the next slide, we are going to just see what an internal order looks like. All right. So this is what an internal order looks like. Uh, as I said earlier, they are just basically temporary cost collectors. They track costs, they monitor budgets for specific projects or tasks. It could range from several things to maintenance, to advertisements. It could, whatever campaigns, as the case may be, they are just temporary cost collectors. So what we're seeing here is just uh, display of an internal order. So we can see that there is an order type there, which is, and there is a controlling area. We can see that there is the basic data, where you put in the order description, where you put in the responsible cost center. We can see the responsible cost center. Also, we can see, the profit center, attached to that particular internal order. The profit center might not be mandatory, but the cost center is mandatory. All right. Then other areas, probably because we are not on SAP at the moment, other screens, you could assign additional organizational elements such as the functional area. You could assign a WBS element. There are several things now that you can assign to this particular cost center. All right. You could specify the settlement parameters as well. Okay, in terms of the settlement profile, in terms of the settlement rule, as the case may be. Then we can enter planning data as well. The budget, the planned costs. We can set several things like the start and end dates, for this particular cost, for this particular internal order. You could put in also object class and investment reason, and several things now you could put into an internal order. But just note that an internal order, okay, is just used to track costs and monitor budgets for specific projects or tasks within the organization. That's what an internal order is used for. So because of time, we'll just run through the other submodules in SAP CO. Profit center. Okay, profit center. Profit center, just like the cost center, is an organizational unit responsible for their revenues and costs, providing a view of profitability by business unit, product line, or geographic region. Now, profit centers, just on the other hand, cost centers, they are responsible, okay, for costs, okay? They are responsible for, where costs are incurred or managed or monitored, that's what the cost center is about. However, for the profit center, they are units that are used to evaluate the profitability. They are, just note that they are used to evaluate the profitability of different parts of the organization. That's one thing we need to know about profit centers. Okay. It could be a geographic region, it could be a product line, whatever it is, but they are used to evaluate profitability of different parts of the organization. So mainly, this profit center is used for the internal reporting. Okay, it helps in evaluating the profitability of different segments within the organization. Okay. What we're seeing on the next screen is creation of or rather display of a particular profit center. So what we're seeing here, we see the controlling area of that particular profit center. We see, the profit center identifier, which, P1053800000. As we see the validity period. Basically, when you're creating a profit center, these are the mandatory fields that you have to impute, okay, for you to be able to create that master data of the profit center. So you provide the basic data, which ranges from the name, the hierarchy, the area, the responsible person, just as we saw in the other creation of cost center. You enter the address, sorry, there are several tabs here which you might not be privy to at the moment because we are not on SAP. But if you need to, if you want to learn, SAP further, you can always contact us, and we'll do well to assign a consultant to you who would you really tutor you and train you on, this particular submodule, the profit center. Okay. So the next module we'll be looking at is the project systems. Just a brief recap of what we have done so far. We have talked about the SAP CO, and of course, in the SAP CO, basically is just controlling costs and operational performance. And then we talked about, the submodules, which ranges from the cost center accounting to the profit center, to the internal orders, to, the profit center accounting as well. So basically, we just covered, the entire component of the FI, the CO, that's controlling now in SAP. We will now treat the SAP project systems. I think we have about 20 minutes to go for today's session. The project systems. Project systems is a submodule, or rather is a module designed to support planning, execution, monitoring, and completion of projects across various industries. It provides a robust framework for managing complex projects, which are financed both internally or externally. It could be financed internally, it could be financed externally, ensuring they are delivered on time, within budget, and to the required quality standards. If you recall, when we were talking about the cost centers, we talked about, we could assign a WBS element to that particular cost center. So for instance, if it's a project, okay, you can assign a particular WBS to that particular cost center, and also same WBS to a profit center. So you would be able to use that WBS element to do a proper analysis so that you'll be able to see, okay, this particular project, is it being profitable? Okay. Is it being profitable? So project systems, that's where you create that particular WBS element to assign to either the profit center or the cost center, as the case may be, for these analysis. Okay. It provides a robust framework for managing complex projects. Okay. The components of SAP PS, we have project structuring, we have planning and budgeting, we have cost and revenue management, we have a project execution. So for project structuring, we have the work breakdown structure. It forms the basis for organization and coordination in a project. It's hierarchical decomposition of the project into smaller manageable components. It helps in organizing project tasks and responsibilities. It shows the amount of work, duration, and activity. We'll get to see how a project structure looks like in a bit. Network and activities is detailed planning and scheduling of tasks within the project, defining dependencies, durations, and resources. Basically, that's what a project structure looks like. The WBS element is there, and then that WBS element shows you those network and activities in that particular project structure. What does the SAP PS component, or what would it help you to do? It helps you in planning and budgeting. Okay, cost planning, estimating and allocating costs for different project phases and activities. It integrates with financial and controlling models for budget control. Well, we said this about, when you create a WBS element and assign to the cost center and the profit center. Okay, it helps with your cost planning. Okay, then resource planning as well. SAP PS module helps with your resource planning, assigning and managing human resources, equipment, and materials required for project tasks. It integrates with the human capital management for staffing and time recording. Also, the for procurement and material management. Then we have the revenue planning as well, which your SAP PS assist with forecasting and managing expected project revenues, especially for customer projects. In this particular revenue planning now, we are looking at the SD model now. Basically, when we have what we call the resource related billing now in the SAP SD model, where it integrates with the PS integrates with the SD model, right? For forecasting and managing expected revenues from customers. Okay. The project execution, SAP PS also assists with project execution from scheduling, which is creating and maintaining timelines, ensuring that tasks are completed as per planned schedule, to procurement. Yes, this now, while you can create or procure, projects, procure services or products now using the module. However, you can just directly do that from, the SAP PS, okay? It manages the procurement of goods and services needed for the project. It integrates seamlessly, with the module. You could actually initiate the procurement process using the PS model. Okay, then we have the time management as well. I talked about resource related billing now on in the SD model. Okay, the time management now, you could actually record times now of using the different WBS elements, to track the time spent on projects. Okay, then cost and revenue management. So this is very important as well. It tracks costs, basically, okay? Monitoring the actual cost against planned costs to identify variances and take corrective actions. It just gives you basically an overview of how much you have spent and if it's meeting the budget, all right? Then you can take corrective actions, okay? Updating your GLs or updating your data as the case may be, okay? Then we have, it also helps with the billing, managing billing processes for customer projects, including milestone billing and also periodic billing. That seamlessly with that, it does that seamlessly with the SD model. Okay, monitoring and reporting as well, progress tracking, including status, tasks, and deliverables, performance analysis using key indices. Okay, reporting on project status, financials, performance, etc. So what we are seeing on this screen is the project builder. We talked about the project structure initially. So what we're seeing on this screen, the project has already been built. However, what we can see the breakdown from the WBS element to the network generally. Okay, so it provides, this particular project builder provides a comprehensive interface, okay, for defining, your project structure. It includes, your WBS element, okay, your work breakdown structure. We can see, the value starting with the N and 4381.1. That's your WBS element. Sorry, I can show you the network and other related data. That's the milestones and all that now on this particular screen. But if you need to know further about, how to create a WBS element or a project structure, as the case may be, you can always contact us, and we'll assign a consultant who would train you and tutor you on how to build a project. Okay, what we see here, we see, the initial details, such as the create, the open, the copy project, and all that. We see how the project is being defined. Sorry, on this screen, you might not see, where milestones are being set or the plan cost and budgets. You might not see that on this screen. But if you are opportuned to do a training with us, definitely we'll be able to intimate you on some of these fields. Okay. So the next we'll be looking at is SAP SD. The SAP SD is one of the largest functional module in SAP. It handles all the processes from an order to delivery. The main operations in this SAP module is basically customer order fulfillment. Okay, customer order fulfillment. Okay, it ranges from customer sales order processing to the pricing, to the picking, to the packing, to the shipping, billing, the risk management. It also interfaces, with the FI model for credit management as well. Okay, but that's the SAP SD model. So what we see on the far right is what an SAP SD cycle looks like. We see the pre-sale activities, such as the inquiry quotation, the sales order, which includes the sales order, contract, scheduling agreement. We see, the delivery, which includes the availability check, picking of materials, packing of materials, the post-goods issue, the invoicing of the customer, which is the billing, and then finally the receipt of payment. The receipt of payment is done by, the FI model or the FI consultant, as the case may be. So basically, this is just the order cycle. On the far right, the order cycle. So I haven't broken down the different sub models now, but I just want to give us a larger picture of what the SD components, would look like. Okay, so in the SD, there is what we call the master data management, for instance. Okay, there is the customer master, there is the material master, there is the pricing conditions. These are the main components of the master data. Every transaction, the kinds of data we have in SAP are divided into two: transactional data and the master data. Okay, transactional data and configuration data. Then we also have the master data. So three components now: transactional data, the master data, and then configuration data. So master data plays, a crucial role in the SD model. Okay, the master data, now we are going to talk about the customer master, which stores all the information about customers, including contract details, payment terms, etc. Then there is the material master data, although this is a core component of the MM module, but without your material master, there is no way you can sell any product or services. Basically, it contains details about the products and services offered by the company. Then there is the pricing conditions, which manages pricing information, including price lists, discounts, charges, taxes, and what have you. Another component of the SAP SD model is the sales order or contract processing. You know, if you looked at the initial screen, we talked about the pre-sales activity. However, after those pre-sales activity, which we talked about inquiry and quotation, the next is sales order processing. So it's one of the main components, you know, of the SD model after the master data. This is more of the transactional data part now, where, you know, we have the inquiry and quotation management, we have the sales order, contract creation. Also, at this point in time, there is what they call the availability check. For instance, if a sales order is raised, it ensures that the products are available to be delivered. Okay, so if the products are not available to be delivered, there is no way, you know, it will let you create that sales order because you wouldn't be able to fulfill, you know, the order. Then we have the shipping and delivery, which is one of the components of the SAP SD model, which deals mainly with delivery processing, picking and packing, and goods issue. I'll just dwell more on the goods issue. You know, once a product leaves your warehouse, okay, you have to do what we call the goods issue, which is probably is just going to reduce the inventory. Basically, the goods issue is just stating that a product has left your warehouse. Okay. Then we have the billing and invoicing in the SAP as one of the SAP as the components. It deals mainly with the invoice generation. It automates the creation of invoices based on delivery, sales, order, billing plans, and it manages different billing scenarios, such as milestone billing that we talked about in the PS model, and the periodic billing as well for services that we talked about in the PS model. There is the credit risk management. This, you know, we talked more about this in the FI model, where, you know, you have the credit control, which manages or monitors customer credit limits to mitigate financial risk. If a customer is owing you, you wouldn't want to be giving him products, you know, and while he's defaulting on payments. Okay, and it does also, of course, the risk analysis, which evaluates the customer profiles to determine their creditworthiness. We have the sales reporting and analytics, which more of your it does, you know, your analysis and forecasting, as the case may be, for either revenue or replenishment, as the case may be. Okay, so basically what we're looking at here is creation of a display of a quotation document on SAP. There are several things now that we see here. We see the sold to party, which basically is the person you are selling the product to, the ship to party, who you are shipping the particular product to, which in most cases are same. We see the validity of the quotation, we see the quantity and also the product of what we're selling, and also the net value of that particular product. Okay. Next, what we're seeing is creation of a sales order, how it looks like. Basically, this can be used, the quotation can be used as a reference to create this particular sales order. So everything we saw on that quotation document, apart from the validity period, we see it here as well on the sales order. So basically, this is the sales order processing. Then we have the outbound delivery. The outbound delivery document is the sales order is a reference document to the outbound delivery document. And of course, in this outbound delivery document, there is what we call the post goods issue. Basically, what the outbound delivery document is doing is just processing the shipping of the product. Then finally, the invoice. Of course, we have seen this particular screen before now when we were treating the FI model. So basically, this is just what we are going to be doing today. I appreciate your attention. Tomorrow, hopefully, we will continue with the MM modules and some other modules now in the logistics arena in SAP. Okay, I thank you for your time. And if you need to go back or ask questions, as the case may be, please, you can do well to go to my YouTube channel, because this will be posted there, and comment on it, and or also ask your questions or play back, as the case may be. Once again, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much and have a wonderful, wonderful day. All right. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.